Let's call this meeting to order. Good evening, Vicksburg. Welcome to our regular council session. Tonight is April 15th. Hope everyone has their taxes done. With that, we'll, if you join me with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's take a moment of silence and acknowledge all those that are suffering around the world tonight. And if you would, please do a roll call. Christian?
Trustee Fields?
Here.
Trustee Reister?
Here.
Trustee Wagner?
Here.
Trustee Olson?
Here.
President Pro Tem Keller?
Here.
President Frisbee?
Here. So we have an agenda in front of us tonight. Jim, was there any changes or additions you'd like to note?
Yes, sir. We would add 11C for car wash tax amendments. It was approved at the Planning Commission. So if we can add 11C, and we'll be adding a bullet point under the village manager's report of the public participation plan, just a real quick timeline on that.
Thank you. Any council members has anything they want to add, address? Hearing none, we have agenda in front of us. What is this council's desire?
Move as amended. Support.
We'll do a roll call, please. No, never mind. We can do it voice. So all those in favor of the agenda as proposed, say aye.
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 Those opposed? We have an agenda in front of us. Tonight we have a scheduled appearance of Miss Jane Ghosh with Discover Kalamazoo. Some exciting information for us.
Thank you very much for having me. The last time I was here was almost a year ago in June, so I'm bringing forward today an update on a few things. So first, I'll share with you what I'll talk about today, which is just a reminder of Discover Kalamazoo, what our role is. I'll update you about how Discover Kalamazoo supports Vicksburg, and then I have an update on some geolocation data to share with you, and then lastly, our 2024 priorities to continue to drive visitor spending. So first is, what is Discover Kalamazoo? Just a reminder, we're the Kalamazoo County Convention and Visitors Bureau. So we support all of Kalamazoo County, including Vicksburg. We're your destination marketing organization. And what we do is we market Kalamazoo County as a whole, as a destination for leisure travelers or people coming here for a meeting or an event. And our mission is to attract and wow visitors for the economic advancement of our county. As we describe, the ultimate beneficiaries of our work are the people who frequent, for example, the restaurants that are sustained by the visitors coming in and giving them that revenue that allows then those restaurants, as an example, to be here for residents to enjoy. And our vision is to share Kalamazoo with everyone. We talk a lot about visitor spending because we see that as our North Star, because it's the money that comes into Kalamazoo County that's spent here that wouldn't otherwise be spent here because it's by visitors, people who don't live in Kalamazoo County. And we get these numbers from Travel Michigan. These are numbers by county within the state of Michigan. And for Kalamazoo County, you can see the data comes fairly late. So we got this data, I think, in December or January of 2023, maybe, for 2022. So it comes almost a year later. And you can see in 2022, we grew visitor spending by 17%. We were actually pleasantly surprised by this because we had such a great pandemic recovery in 2021 that we wondered if there was kind of a pent-up demand impact there that was going to maybe suppress 2022, but we actually saw, very significant growth there in 2022. Obviously, we have no idea what 23 will be yet. And no change, food and beverage continues to be the #1 category. When visitors, people who don't live in the county, come here, the #1 place they spend their money is in bars and restaurants and the like. And then #2 is lodging, followed then by retail. There's a lot of reasons for that. One of that is we have so many wonderful places to eat and drink here in Kalamazoo County. We're a very affordable destination from a lodging standpoint. And we also see a lot of visits are to visit friends and family. So they might not be staying at a hotel. They could be staying with friends. But that still then does spur people to go out and visit, a restaurant or an attraction. And this next chart, because, I talked about the pandemic recovery, every county in Michigan fared differently during the COVID pandemic. In 2020, there were actually a couple counties that grew in visitor spending because they were uniquely positioned, the kind of places people wanted to go, very rural counties, places people wanted to go during a pandemic. And then some counties, like Wayne County, through 2022, hadn't even yet recovered, like Detroit, where they're very dependent on international visitors and big conventions and that kind of thing. But if you take out, 2020 and the pandemic and 2021, and just look at 2022 versus 2019 growth by county, for just those counties that have a significant portion of visitor spending, Kalamazoo County actually fared the best. So we were ahead of Kent County, although Kent County's right up there. Overall, West Michigan did fairly well, as you can see, which is great. We appreciate our neighbors to the north and nearby us as well, but Kalamazoo County did very well in 2022. So until we have the new data, I wanted to share this with you. And then a little bit about how Discover Kalamazoo supports Vicksburg. So just updates versus prior year. We continue to do social media posts about things to do in Vicksburg, and then we link those posts to the content on our website that discusses Vicksburg. So in this example, this is one from, I think, March 9th maybe. So this is a post about Vicksburg, and then you click it and it links to this blog on our website about 10 things to do in Vicksburg. So we do those with some frequency. This is an example from February of an Instagram post we did, which again, then it also gets a dialogue going, a social media dialogue. Now, a lot of our social media followers are in Kalamazoo County. Many of them are not, but this still, I think, benefits Vicksburg, whether the person looking at it is in the county or not. And then we contract with content creators and influencers. So this is content that by people who have a lot of followers, not by people on the Discover Kalamazoo team, but other people that have, followers and people that pay attention to them who might not otherwise pay attention to Discover Kalamazoo. They kind of come along with their own audience. And if you could click on that, and then we can show, these are videos. And hopefully it'll play. Or you can switch windows to a browser, maybe. And then you can see if you click on the arrow at the bottom, then it has maps where the places are. You can link to it, to get more information. Yeah, it's beautiful, just beautiful photography there. And then the other link is about the Vicksburg Historic Village specifically. Click on that. It was the content creator themselves that did it. It's a woman who runs it. It's called From Michigan with Love. Yeah. And what's nice about this is that content, lives among all her followers. So people who see her content, have visited other towns, they can follow her to get ideas of where to travel from Michigan. It, comes up in search engine optimization, and then we can also then repurpose that content ourselves. So, yeah. If you could, there we go. Thank you. And then we are. Yes, thank you. Sorry, threw you a loop there. But, yeah. So we are reprinting our travel guide. We do this pretty much once a year. So I don't have the new travel guide. It won't be published until May or maybe early June. But I wanted to. We're changing our layout from what you would have seen last year to now we're going to have a dedicated section by geography within the county. So there'll be this is the content for Vicksburg that we're going to have included in that travel guide. And we have, obviously the travel guide is printed. we will have a Spanish translation, and then it's also available electronically. And the reason that you see the hyperlinks there is because when someone sees that travel guide electronically, then they can click on those links. And we are doing a better job. Actually, we were talking just before I came in about what services our partners, want from Discover Kalamazoo once people are here in the county. And I haven't really dissected all the survey results yet, but one of the things was I mentioned people don't necessarily want info tables. What scored higher than that was just give us the QR codes, because people maybe don't want the paper literature. They just want to have access to something on their smartphone. And that's why these links, to all this content is going to be really important. And then, of course, our dining guide. So this is something that we use. We have a page just dedicated to South County, and we use about 8,000 of these when people are here in town. And lots of other things, but in the interest of time, those are the highlights of how we support Vicksburg. And to start off with the geolocation data, I thought it would be fun to do a little quiz about some of the places in Vicksburg. So I pulled geolocation data for these 4 restaurants here in Vicksburg, which, based on the data I could see, look at the top 4 restaurants for visitation, or this is from even people who live in Vicksburg. This is from visits from anywhere, the top places in Vicksburg. So I don't know if you can see those, but you've got Yogi's there, you have Main Street, you have Hideaway, and Vickers. Okay. So of those 4, which do you think is number 1 for overall visits?
Hideaway. That's a trick question?
Trustee Reister has it correct. If you click, there you go. Main Street is number 1 for overall visits, just on any given day or across the year, how many people in 2023 went to Main Street pubs. Okay, what is number 1 for percent from out of town? So I define that as people who live at least 30 miles away. The percent. Okay, let's click.
Hideaway.
It is, in fact, the Hideaway. Yep. And I think the reason for that is, you've activated your Main Street area, brilliantly, right? You're bringing people in for these events right there on the Main Street, and the Hideaway is right there in the heart of where all that activity happens. So I think that's why the out-of-towners, the Hideaway is number 1. Okay, number 1 for frequency. This is like repeat visits. The one that has the most of all the visitors. How many go back the most? What was it? Yogi's? Maybe? You only have 2. Yeah, so we've got a 50-50 chance on this one. And it is Yogi's, in fact, almost twice as high as the lowest of this. And I think probably because it lends itself to repeat, visitation, it becomes kind of your spot. And anything that doesn't draw as many out-of-towners is going to have more repeat because it's the locals going back again and again. And then dwell time is once somebody comes, what's the average time that they hang out there, like they leave? Yep, Vickers. Lakeside dining, right? It's a lovely location. You've got the outside patio, so. Yeah. And they have entertainment, yes, yeah. Yeah, so that's just a little quiz to get us started. So this is a heat map of just the first couple months of the year for Vicksburg Village. No surprise, those restaurants, like where they're located, is where people spend the most time. So this is basically people, and this only measures people who do not live in the village of Vicksburg. It doesn't mean that they're out of the county, it just means they don't live in the village of Vicksburg, where they spend time. And you can see, the downtown location there, the Main Street location, absolutely is where people are coming in to spend time, which is no surprise. That's where you have the events. You've got, the activation space in the park. You have, that's no surprise. When the mill is up, and open for business, I expect this to change. But for now, that's where your activity is. And, football games, and I didn't do this, but football games are absolutely a driver of traffic. I'm sure you know that because you see it, right? And then I just kind of made this up, right? This is not your DDA. This is not your social district. I just drew a line around downtown because I saw, how much activity there was downtown. So when I reference downtown in the next page, it's this, Jane's made-up downtown, okay? So, and the placer data allows me to kind of draw a circle and then say, okay, who's coming in? So this is then by date for the visitation to that boundary that I just drew, and you can see clearly the Old Car Festival brings people downtown, right? And I'm sure, again, that's not a surprise to you at all. But what surprised me, actually, is what's on the next page, which is if you take out the Old Car Festival and you just look from the day after that, Wednesday is actually your highest foot traffic day downtown. And most, I would say, townships, villages, cities would give their eye teeth for this because they have no trouble driving weekend traffic. It's the weekday, and when you talk to restaurants, generally speaking, it's the weekdays that they're trying to bring people in. You know, the weekends, Friday, Saturday nights, they usually don't have as much of an issue. So, you know, well done to Vicksburg for driving up that foot traffic. And you know, making the choices to make, you know, your downtown, your Main Street area, it's walkable, it's very, you know, enjoyable, it's very inviting, it's welcoming, and I think that's what gets you that result there. And then lastly, the last kind of chapter here is what are we doing to continue to drive that visitor spending? So we set a very high bar for ourselves in 2022. We don't have our 23 data yet, but we did, based on that data, reset our overall objective. I know it's kind of hard to see, but we reframed our objective really in terms of Kalamazoo County's share of Michigan visitor spending. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that the Travel Michigan, the Pure Michigan campaign to try to get people to think of anywhere in Michigan as their kind of destination, that the funding for that campaign changes significantly year on year. Some years they'll have 50 million, and some years they'll have 15 million. And you know, we believe that we benefit from that activity, and if there's more or less of it, you know, that can either help or you know, or hurt us. But that's the same for every community in Michigan. But we wanted to kind of equalize for that. And then secondly, whoops, can you go back, sorry? Secondly, about half of the visitors who come to Kalamazoo County from out of the county are from in-state. And as you know, Michigan's population is stagnant relative to maybe some other states where there's a lot of activity to try to grow that population. But as long as that's the case, you know, we don't know that if overall population is, say, declining, you know, can Kalamazoo County really continue to grow at that pace from a visitor spending standpoint? Or on the other hand, if all of a sudden the talent campaign works brilliantly and we have a lot of increased population in the state of Michigan, then we might grow visitation even though it's not because of anything Discover Kalamazoo did. So therefore, we decided to reframe our objective in terms of our share of overall visitor spending in Michigan. And for a long time, we were pretty much steady at about 2%. Coming out of the pandemic, we got that up to 2.5. Our goal is to get to 3.0%, 3% by 2030. There's a lot of things. It's a very significant growth. Among the things that we think can help get us there is actually the Vicksburg Mill project. We think that's the kind of transformational thing that can help us drive overall share of visitor spending here in Kalamazoo County. So what are we doing in 2024 specifically? The first is we're continuing to leverage our geography for that casual road trip. And we have a new I don't have it yet to show you, but we have a new advertising campaign in pre-test. That when that comes out, then I'm happy to come back and share it with you. We are, you know, we're gonna, once we have the advertising, we're going to be spending a decent amount of money against it. So we want to make sure that it's as good as possible. And what that means is that it breaks out of the clutter of all the different advertising, that, you know, the ad can get noticed. That when people, that's number one. Number two, when people see the ad, they know that it's for Kalamazoo. You know, you compare that to all of our counterparts up and down Lake Michigan are advertising beaches. But how do you know if you're seeing an ad for Grand Haven, you know, or Saugatuck? You don't know. And we don't want to waste money and not be driving people, you know, to take interest in Kalamazoo. And then that last point is it motivational? Will it actually get people to come? So you can actually pre-test ads, and so we're doing that. We're pre-testing it, and if it's great, then we'll start using it, and we'll let you know. And hopefully it'll drive that visitors. The second is, this is really the same as what I talked about when I was here a year ago, but I have just an update for you. really trying to intentionally attract diverse audiences across everything that we do. And the update here is we are just kicking off now a project with wheeltheworld.com. They are it's basically the Expedia for travelers with accessibility needs. And if you go to wheeltheworld.com, the website, you can see that you can put in if you have, and about 1 in 4 American travelers actually does have an accessibility need. Not everyone has a need that they need to book travel around, but for example, if you use a wheelchair, you want to know whether you can get into that restaurant, whether the hotel truly has a roll-in shower, or whether if you have a wheelchair lift, can the lift fit under the bed, for example? And those are just some examples. On wheeltheworld.com, you can create a profile for yourself of what needs you have, and then they'll match that to locations in your destination that fit your profile. But the way they do that is they map destinations. And so we have identified 130 locations across Kalamazoo County to be mapped, and we're actually partnering not just with Wheel the World, but with Disability Network of Southwest Michigan. And it's going to be Disability Network in our county, so local experts who are going to do the mapping of those 130 locations. And obviously many of the locations, will be here in Vicksburg. Meetings and sports, they bring in a lot of room nights, they bring in a lot of people. We go to trade shows, obviously, year after year. A couple of the new things that we're trying here are the online trip advisors, basically, for people who are looking for a venue for their meeting or their sport. On the left is Cvent, on the right is Play Easy. And we're investing in these platforms because that can increase our reach versus there's a limit to how many trade shows we can get to. And we have picked up some interesting leads from these. Resident and partner development, I've mentioned that a lot of visits here are for friends and family, to come see friends and family. So we are constantly working to help residents be ambassadors for Kalamazoo, to encourage their friends and families to come visit them here instead of meeting halfway or us going there. But the talent campaign, this is actually a photo of the Michigan, this new Michigan talent campaign called You Can in Michigan. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but the state government is investing a lot of money into trying to attract talent to reverse that population decline. We're 49th out of 50 states in population growth, better only than West Virginia, and that's, I don't think, the company that we want to keep from a population growth standpoint. And so as I said, they're investing a lot of money. They've divided the state into regions, and they're actually calling the whole Southwest Michigan region the Kalamazoo region, which is great for us because it's really attracting, people here. It's the biggest city in the region, and it's great. This is actually an image from the You Can in Michigan campaign website there. And lastly, leading destination development. So we were great partners with Southwest Michigan First on getting the downtown Kalamazoo Event Center across the line. The study that really affirmed that was the right thing to do for our community said that in addition to that, there was an opportunity for an amateur sports complex. Didn't necessarily need to be downtown, not a performance center, just truly like a place where you go and you can host tournaments on the weekends, and local people can use it Monday through Thursday. And so we commissioned a new study to say, okay, great, if that's the case, what should it be? We were open to swimming, running, anything. And they said the biggest opportunity in Kalamazoo County is something that looks like that, an indoor hard court facility. And what you're seeing is, most of it is, if you look horizontally, it's basketball courts, 8 full-size basketball courts that then are set appropriately so that in the yellow would be 16 volleyball courts. So you could be having 16 volleyball games happening there at the same time. And then on the far right, additional indoor turf space. So the study said that this is really the biggest opportunity for Kalamazoo County in terms of getting additional sports tournament activity, as well as meeting unmet local needs. And if you all have family members that play travel basketball or travel volleyball, it is very hard to get court time in Kalamazoo County. There are almost no tournaments held in Kalamazoo County because we do not have the facilities to host a tournament, so kids are having to travel to be able to play. This would be a state-of-the-art facility that there is nothing like this within 110 miles of us right now. So the closest is Brighton, Michigan. And there are 20 million people who live within a 3-hour drive of Kalamazoo. So it's a huge population base. Basketball and volleyball are the two of the most played sports, and there's not a great tournament facility within our region, so we think this is a huge opportunity that Discover Kalamazoo is really trying to get across the line. A lot of work to do yet, but this is it's a top priority for us. And with that, that concludes my materials that I had prepared, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Gene, if I may put you on the spot real quick, I wanted to ask you this when we were talking before the meeting, but did all the council members get an invite to that survey? Yeah, I just would encourage everyone to please look at that, take the time. It took me about 12, 15 minutes to do it, and Jane and I were just talking about the results that she's seen, and it's opened your eyes in a couple of areas, right? So it's pretty important, and very valuable, so if you would. When are you closing?
Closed. It's possible that it closed, but you can click on a link and see if it's still open. And what that is, one of the areas of our business, and actually you didn't see anything on the strategy that I just shared with you, related to what we call destination services. So our marketing team is busy trying to get people to consider primarily Kalamazoo County as a leisure destination, and they're out, all the materials I showed you about how we support, like the videos and so forth. That's all the marketing team does that. Then we have our business development team that are trying to convince people to choose Kalamazoo as the location for their sports tournament or their meeting. Our destination services team, that's our third leg of our three-legged stool, their job is, once people are here in Kalamazoo County, how do we give them the right service? And with the example that we were talking about earlier is like, we spend a lot of time and talent on staffing information tables at events, whether that be an information table at Pride Fest or an information table. We just hosted the Pure Michigan Governor's Conference on Tourism downtown. We had information tables there. So from our mind, that's a valuable thing to do, because then when someone comes up, we can talk to them, and we think a conversation, the positive intent here is we feel like a conversation is the best way to be able to tell people about the great restaurants, so that people are, going to Vickers and not to Olive Garden, right? Conversation is the best way to do that. So that's the thinking behind them. But if they're not of value, then we want to know that, so that we don't overinvest in that area, and conversely underinvest in something else that might be of more value to our partners. So that's the purpose of of the survey.
Question. You talked about this new sports facility. Have you picked a location for that yet?
We have not. We're currently in site selection. After we got the feasibility study back that told us this is the biggest opportunity for us, then we did a new RFP to find someone to help us with site selection, and we commissioned a combination of Tower Pinkster. So they're very, because they do a lot of construction. They do architecture for a lot of construction projects. They really know, land and building challenges and so forth across the county. In a combination of them with CSL, Convention Sports and Leisure, who are absolute experts in sports tourism. So the two of them together are working on site selection, and they have developed a scoring matrix. We had dozens of sites across the county that they were looking at, and they're kind of filtering it down through this scoring matrix.
I noticed too, you mentioned basketball and everything else, but you never mentioned pickleball courts.
Mm-hmm.
And yet that's the fastest growing sports business in America today, and you're not even looking at that.
It is. So you can play in this facility. You can do pickleball. You can do indoor pickleball in this facility. The basketball and volleyball still rise higher than pickleball in terms of opportunity for a couple of reasons. One is, while pickleball is the fastest growing, it has a long way to go until it gets anywhere near basketball and volleyball in terms of participation. And then basketball and volleyball tend to be youth sports, and they're team sports. So if you have a volleyball tournament, you have teams of kids coming for a tournament. The team might have 15 kids, say, on the team. And because they're kids, they travel with a parent. So now, instead of just 15, now you have at least 30. But usually, they travel with both parents. So now you're up to 45. And since you got the kid and parent, any siblings are also coming. So now you might have 60 kids playing for just 60 people coming. And then, because it's a tournament and you've got the family is always looking for downtime between games. And so they are going to restaurants, they're going to Airway Fund Center, they're going out and they're spending and spending and spending. And so that's why even if you had the same number of games, the economic impact of these youth sports is orders of magnitude larger.
I wanted to publicly thank Jane. I worry that she regretted giving me her email about a year ago. As I will randomly fire off emails asking her for data on Vicksburg, and it's always responded to very quickly. I think one thing, and this focused on summer leading up to it, but I remember after Christmas in the Burg, sending an email, because there was a group of us that felt it was had grown to the largest amount of people, and the data at that time did indicate it actually exceeded the number of devices in town for the car show.
Oh, absolutely.
And that impact of that day. I know I asked Jane to focus on the summer, but just in looking at that data, I remembered going, okay, that has grown. And we're hopes by this data collection that we'll have
I'm so sorry.
You're the last of you be fined right now.
I think that, did that say the White House?
We should be so lucky.
Where's the light tamer
I don't know, maybe we should have answered that. But I want to thank you for always providing that data, and I think it'll be interesting here. We're going in, this council, I think, deserves a lot of credit for their investment in another summer of Berg Days. In fact, we have a 2-year commitment with a foundation grant to do it again in 25. So to capture and be able to articulate that growth of visitors, I think we're going to see those lines go up on Wednesday, which we know equates to follow-up visits on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday with other groups. So.
Absolutely. And people get in, it takes time for people to learn that things are happening, that, for example, Berg Days are happening. Like, it takes multiple years until people realize,
It's Wednesday, just go to Vicksburg.
It's Wednesday,
What
just go to
camera's on?
Vicksburg.
If you're 45 minutes away.
Yeah, but I do think it takes time to kind of get that habit in, or maybe they only went to one. August 16th was your last one this year, right? This past year, so maybe they missed all the rest of them, and now they know that they can come. And so definitely continuity is going to be very valuable, I think, for Vicksburg. Because people learn, the same way you all have your own habits, right? Maybe things that you've done. It takes time.
I've had people tell me about Berg Days and saying, I had one woman who is not from here say to me, this is the place that you're supposed to be coming now. Vicksburg is the place that you're supposed to be coming. Nice. So you're right. People are beginning, even people who don't live here, are beginning to see that and say that to others.
It takes time. One person tells another person, and they tell, 2 friends, and they tell 2 friends, but it takes time for that to go. So I really applaud your investing in multiple years of that. And Jim can attest. I just had an email this afternoon from one of the premier.
This is a teaser, right?
It's a teaser.
We're not
premier
going in,
entertainment,
but it is, yes.
Groups, let's say here, and I mean not just in Kalamazoo County, in Michigan, reached out about the potential of doing something during Berg Days in Vicksburg. So that was pretty awesome.
We're not be here, man.
No, it would be instantly recognizable by all council members, but we have hopefully follow-up yet this week. Certainly appreciate your connection there, and look forward to that announcement in the future for sure.
Very good. Excellent. Well, thank you for the support and the partnership.
Thanks, Jane. We really appreciate it. You're a great community partner, and it's been a pleasure working with you and continued success. Thanks. We have no scheduled public appearances. I'm going to break protocol just a slight bit because this gentleman's on a time crunch, but he's got some really phenomenal news to share with this group. So introduce Zach Bishop.
How are we this evening, guys? Thanks for letting me take up a little bit of your time. Hope everybody finds this So, I'm Zach Bishop. I live at 231 South Rose Street here in the village. I also own Four Flutes Machining, located at 820 West Prairie Street. Same building as Dutch Boys Hot Rods. Some of you are familiar. Some of you probably see big semi-trucks unloading big pieces of equipment once in a while outside. Here tonight to talk about an award that we have just been selected for by the state of Michigan through Michigan Celebrates Small Business. We were nominated and selected as one of Michigan's best small businesses of 2024 by an arm of the Michigan government called Apex Accelerators. Apex Accelerators is a Michigan state funded branch of government that helps small to medium-sized companies such as my own, not limited to manufacturing only, to get them across the finish line when it comes to contracting directly with the government or its subsidiaries. We worked very extensively with them last year, and we were finally able to achieve a JCP certification, which allows us to be what is called a prime contractor for the government, as in there is no middleman, and we can work directly with the United States government, the Department of Defense, even our local military installations, such as Fort Custer or the Air National Guard base at Battle Creek. This has been, the experience with them was definitely monumental as far as business growth. We were actually involved in 2 missile programs, as well as some thermal weapon system programs, all things that may be shelved, may not be, but it's all part of the big DoD budget that somebody has to do. So we're happy to be able to do that right here in Vicksburg at our own shop. And we thought it would be worthwhile to come and share this news with you guys, as some of you guys here I know personally, almost all of you I've met at least one time. And just to let you guys know that we appreciate the opportunity of being here. The community involvement is huge. We have some extremely good employees that we've been able to attract, and they absolutely love Vicksburg. One of them currently lives on the north side of Kalamazoo. He is pursuing a property right here in Vicksburg. It'll be on the outskirts, but we're bringing people here. We plan to continue to grow here within Vicksburg, and we plan to continue to bring more jobs to Vicksburg. We, over half of our staff is paid over 6 figures, which is a very exciting thing to say. We are not a entry-level type manufacturing company. We are very high level, and we plan to continue that to include computer professionals, I would say, IT guys that understand numerical code, guys that understand the idea of fusion. And yeah, thanks a lot for all the help, all the support. You guys have been great for us. We've asked for a few things along the way, and we'll continue to ask for more things as we grow. And it's been great to work with you guys, and look forward to the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the time this evening. Feel free to tell your friends, tell your neighbors. And with that, I will let you guys be, and I'll head back to work.
Thank you very much, Zach. Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
What an honorable award. And we're very extremely proud to have Zach and his company in our community, so thank you. I just have a real quick update with vacation, spring break, technical difficulties. We've kind of slowed down on our interview process. We have one left, and we will definitely make a recommendation to this council on April 29th. Right, team?
Yes.
So we have a consent agenda in front of us tonight. We got a regular minutes from our March 18th meeting, warrant reports, couple event requests, disc golf course, classic doubles. Pretty excited. Talk about a growing entity is disc golf. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I think this is the second one. We have the Sasquatch tournament in here also during the summer, so. We have the Pavilion Farmers Market update. We need to clarify that update too, because in talking with the team that runs that, there's only one downtown village event, and it was published that there was 3 in our newsletter that went out with our water bills. So there is only the one downtown event. Memorial Day Parade for the VFW, and HV Pavilion Gazebo Gorge Line Wedding on July 6th. So if anyone had any corrections or comments about the meeting minutes, if not, I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve as submit.
Second?
We'll do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. So we have our council action items tonight in front of us. I'll let Mr. Mallory delve into that.
Thank you, President Frisbee. On 11A, this is a procedural or council action item that's needed. The council had previously approved the purchase of 24 picnic tables in the amount of $25,000 approximately, or a little bit more than $25,000. It is appropriate due to the use of the picnic tables that half of that purchase or investment dollars comes out of the DDA fund. We did put that in front of the DDA board at their last meeting. They unanimously approved that budget amendment for the 23-24 fiscal year, and that requires council approval as well. So staff is recommending approval of that budget amendment in the amount of not to exceed $12,500, or 50% of the cost of the 24 new picnic tables. We're recommending a motion, support, and roll call vote.
Mr. President, move as presented.
We have a second.
Trustee Wagner, I support.
Anyone has any further discussion?
Jim, when are these going to be available to be put out?
While we've received the picnic tables, there are some that arrive damaged, but we anticipate before May 18th. Certainly some will be, and we were just in communication today with the group from Belson Outdoors, who are shipping the replacement table and benches, and we're trying to narrow down the date when they're going to be delivered.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Well, we have a motion and a support. We'll do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
Trustee Fields, President Frisbee.
Yes.
President Frisbee, before I go to 11B, which is a pretty important resolution, I think I need to request adding 11D, which is approval of the boundary fence here at Village Hall. Just as I'm looking at the packet, I don't have it, I forgot to add that at the start of the meeting. So it'd be a request to add 11D, which is the quote that Frederick's Construction secured to install the privacy fence at the property boundary, as well as in front, the Richardson Street side, in front of the HVAC equipment.
So with that request, I'll ask of this council to add that to the agenda. Going to hear a motion?
So moved.
Support.
So adding discussion on the approval, potential approval of the fencing on the village 11D. Would all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Those opposed? So that'll make that part of this agenda.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Yeah,
catching that, Jim.
Apologize for that. 11B, this is a resolution 04152024-01. The summary of this resolution is that submitted a request for federal appropriations in the federal budgeting preparation for fiscal year 2025 through Senator Gary Peters' office, as well as our Representative Tim Wahlberg's office. Within that request, the village needs to commit to a 20% match. What we focused on was what internally we have identified as priority area number 2, reference lead line removal and replacements, as well as associated water mains. Council's well aware that we will be in excess of 175 lead line removal and replacements once the project is completed this summer, that this council's already approved. That contract has been awarded. Priority area number 2 is bounded by Michigan Avenue, Highway Street, Kalamazoo, and Washington Street. Approximately will impact in excess of 160 residents, and the estimated cost of that project is at $5.1 million. We did submit for state of Michigan funding approximately, I think it was last fall, and where we did not meet the first review of our communities, the economic. So I have submitted this as a federal appropriations. So the resolution, if approved, will be submitted to both Senator Peters' office and Representative Wahlberg's. And this is the village council's approval and commitment to fund that 20% or $1.1 million. It does say within the resolution on the therefores, there's a third item. If this project is approved on the federal appropriations of 80%, internally we will immediately we have the data collected, but we would move forward in a cost estimate of priority areas number 3 and number 4, and would potentially look at adding those areas and funding through a USDA loan. As we know, the scope of the area would increase, and the mobilization of large equipment in these projects, if we could, and it would add another 160, taking us well over 80% completion. So that is the third bullet point on the potential, but we certainly have identified 50% coming from an unrestricted reserve water fund and unrestricted reserve general fund to document to the federal government that we have the funds on hand to commit to the 20% today. We anticipate not knowing the results of this until the October timeframe of this calendar year, but again, it was looking at every opportunity we could to fund these projects. So I didn't answer any questions on the resolution, but we encourage motion, support, and approval. The village, if approved, the village clerk will certify it yet tonight, and I'll send off to the appropriate representatives, and certainly publicly thank Senator Gary Peters and his staff, as well as Representative Wahlberg and their staff for working with me to get these documents filled out.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I move that we approve the resolution as submitted, noting that the resolution on our agenda is inaccurate, but it should be 04152024-01, not 0418. So I'm just making sure everybody knows that on the agenda it's not correct, but in the actual document it is correct. So I move as amended by the resolution number.
Trustee Wagner, I support.
Any further discussions, questions of staff?
I'd just like to point out something that I think is glaringly obvious with the past several years in the financial steps that we've taken to and staff has taken to tackle the unfunded mandate of the water line and lead line replacement, that $4 million of federal appropriations is an enormous amount of funds that we'd be able to take advantage of and tackle, as Jim said, over another 20% of those, which would give us, I believe, is that 4 years of space within the mandate. That's exceptional. $4 million of federal funding for a village of our size in the state of Michigan, for the fact of us just having to match it at 20%, it'd be absolutely foolish if we didn't take advantage of it, and it'd be in spite of all the hard work that's been done. All of this infrastructure work is going to take a significant amount of work and investment, but this is by far and above the best course of action that can be taken, and I highly commend all staff and the legislators that are involved in this, so thank you very much.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Ryan. We do a roll call, please, Christian?
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. 11C.
11C is a text amendment for car wash within the zoning. I believe Christian will correct me if I'm wrong, but the ordinance number will be 310. 04. 304. 304. Told you to correct me, I was testing it. 304. Star for Christian. And this was passed unanimously by the planning commission. At their 6 o'clock meeting, it was appropriately noticed in MLI for the 6 o'clock meeting. It moved to council for approval tonight, and then it will be published. We're all prepared to do that. The background on this is we have worked with a developer. We were approached about 8 months ago into bringing the car wash to the village and potential. And within that review, there was not a defined definition within our zoning for car wash, which motivated, obviously we need that to do it the proper way. So the time, if approved by the council, within this ordinance, it requires a special land use application, which has already been filled out, which this council is the zoning board of appeals. That special land use application would be in front of the council on May 6th. If the council approves that special land use application for this car wash, it will move to the planning commission for site plan review for approval there. And if all goes well, the developer will be able to begin turning dirt in June with anticipation of opening as soon as possible. So it's good news, and it would be located here on Richardson Street, just north of the Village Hall on the east side of the roadway.
With that, we have a request to approve our car wash text amendment. What is this council's desire?
Trustee Wagner, I move that we approve the adoption of the ordinance as submitted.
Trustee Reister, support.
Any further discussion? Just some clarification, right? This is something we need to do regardless. I'm really excited about the developer and what he wants to do with that abandoned property at the moment. So, but we still need to accept this, take this into account just to get our text and everything squared away. Any other further comments or questions? Or?
Just one brief that I'd just like to remind everyone present as well as those maybe watching that this is another step that we're taking as we've requested for meetings and on end to continue the update of our ordinance and the text therein to help modernize us and make sure that we're properly adjusting for all these moments of development that we're looking for. So it's just a continuation of the process.
Thank you, Ryan. Would you do a roll call, please, Christian?
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes, motion carries. So we have 11D.
11E is the proposal, we requested Frederick Construction to go through a bid process with multiple companies, reference the construction of a fence to our north, where we have 2 residential properties. The fence will meet the 8-foot height requirement that we place upon commercial establishments that border a residential property, which added a little bit to the expense. But the request in front of the council is for approval for the construction of the fence in an amount not to exceed $36,217.26. It's an 8-foot white vinyl fence, and then a 5-foot section that will camouflage the HVAC equipment here behind us on the building. That amount includes over $3,000 in contingency money that we hope not need to spend, but we're asking for approval. In approving this amount, we will also, with the approval, create a budget amendment that will have the $36,217.26 coming from the unrestricted reserve funds that we have. And probably will be in deeper detail, if approved, in the fourth quarter budget amendments. But the specific is for the $36,217.26 to be approved using general funds unrestricted money to construct the fence.
Well, we have a request in front of us to approve the funding for the fences. We have a motion of support?
Trustee Wagner, I so move.
Trustee Fields, I support.
It's a good time to ask any questions, have discussion with the staff.
President Frisbee, I'll be abstaining from this vote. The reason is my brother started the business that we're going to be dealing with, and even though he sold it, my nephew is still employed there. I don't want anything to look like favoritism. So, because
Thank
of
you.
that, I'll abstain.
Thank you, Trustee Olson, but you're more than welcome to ask questions or make comments.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you.
I would just like to, I understand the fence on the north side to the residential area, but right outside here, had we looked at any other type of infrastructure, bushes, shrubbery?
We did, and just felt it wouldn't cover up the amount of HVAC equipment and electrical switches that are shown. So the fence would guarantee that, but there will be landscaping in addition to the fence.
Around
if approved.
around the fence in front of it?
Correct,
Okay.
yes, correct.
And we had chosen white to go out there?
The color, and it's white on the north property line, and it's a 5-foot matte black.
That's it,
on the-
okay.
Matching the black on the.
On the building itself?
exterior.
Yeah, perfect, all right. Good. Any other questions, comments? We have a motion and support. We'll do a roll call, please. Christian?
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Olson,
Abstain.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. Motion carries, thank you. So it moves us to Village Manager Mallory's report.
Correct, and Jackie Coney's here, so I'll ask her to give a brief, just update on the public participation plan, which is, part of the RRC that's being put together, and some timelines that a work session on April 29th has been scheduled for the village council, that will go in more detail. So it's kind of giving you a heads up on that.
Again. Okay, so this new document in front of you is a requirement, as Jim said, for the Redevelopment Ready Communities program. It's called a Public Participation Plan, or a P3 for short. The foundational idea is that public participation, when properly executed, builds community consensus and strengthens sense of place. with the result being development that the whole community planned for, smoother approval processes, and a more satisfied public. So how do we actually properly execute public participation? The first step is to have a plan to do that. So the document in front of you is our draft plan. And it was written after reviewing the MEDC's Guide to Public Participation and also reviewing about a dozen other communities' plans that the MEDC identified as good examples. So a P3 is used to identify effective and proactive engagement tools to increase accountability and transparency, requiring a municipality to often seek public input as well as record and share the results. The plan should be used as a daily guide for how to best incorporate the public into decisions that affect them and their space. Elected and appointed officials such as yourselves and staff need to commit to its use, reviewing and updating it as we learn which tools are most successful. As such, it's important that all of you review the plan and provide feedback. Christian, Michelle, Chief Sanderson, and Teresa have all carefully reviewed the plan, and I want to publicly thank them for their thoughtful comments and suggestions, which I've already incorporated into this draft. So when you're reviewing it, I'm asking that you ask yourself some questions. So first of all, does the thing even make sense? Does it flow well? Is it readable? Is it accurate? Do you think the ideas are even doable? Do you have any ideas you want to add? Are we missing anything that we're already doing and I just missed it? And is there anything you think we can cut? Because it is a pretty long document. It's a doozy. It's 25 pages, so I thought I'd better give you more than a couple days to review it. But I'd really appreciate it if maybe you could get me comments, your individual comments sent to Jim and Christian and me by next Wednesday, April 24th, so that I can organize people's comments into some sort of semblance and report back at the work session that we're having on April 29th at 6 p.m. And the goal is to then, take those, review it on April 29th again as a group, and then have another draft ready for review at the May 13th Planning Commission. And then as soon as that gets through the Planning Commission and come to you guys as well, eventually with a resolution for approval to adopt this thing. So yeah, again, a reminder, April 29th, 6 p.m., Julia from MEDC will be talking about just an overview of what RRC is. I'll be giving you an update on everything we've done in the last few months to help us get closer to the goal of getting essentials certified. But this is one piece of it, and it's a biggie. It's probably the biggest thing that will be coming, document that'll be coming through this process. So I wanted to get that in front of you and thinking about it. So if you have any questions at all about it, feel free to reach out, but hopefully I'll see comments from you guys by next Wednesday. Any questions?
Thanks, teacher.
Okay.
Homework. Thank you for everything you're doing, Jackie. Appreciate it. Yes, it was emailed over the weekend or last week?
No, I emailed it earlier today.
Just this morning, yeah.
That was to the planning commission group, and it'll go to the council.
Thought I was missing something,
Nope.
because I'm like,
I know I saw it, or just recently, so it was today. Thank you so much.
On the last item I have to report out is just prepping for the April 29th meeting, which will cover our proposed 24-25 road budgets in the village, focused mainly on Trillium and Centennial neighborhoods with a couple additional areas. Also, a replacement of a vehicle, which is a leaf and brush truck. That's a 1990s vehicle in DPW that we've been saving up for. We were waiting for the state price to come out on that, which we've received. And then that will really lead into probably the most in-depth discussion on the capital improvement plan that we've had with the council to date. And we're in a position in 24-25 and we'll be in excellent position in 25-26. Just take the money we've been saving for this building over the last 8 years. That money is available still in these upcoming budget years. So really to have council input in depth on prioritizing different capital improvement plans. Parking lot behind the hardware is a $500,000 project. A park with pickleball courts is over $1 million. Those type of, and to have an in-depth conversation, that can continue on, but just kind of also giving a heads up that it could be a more lengthy meeting to have the conversation as we move into budget. Council will be receiving an email from myself requesting one-on-one contact, and where we can discuss specifically the 24-25 fiscal year budget and anything else that comes up. We'd like to have those contacts occur before the end of the month. But you'll be receiving an email from me in the morning, reference that. So that's the village manager's report.
Thank you, Jim.
Mr. President,
Yes.
real quick, I noticed that the Citizens Academy or whatever is not on. Has that been postponed?
No, it starts Wednesday night. Wednesday night, we have, I think, 13 individuals that have signed up for it. It's still, applications can be submitted before Wednesday, or even on Wednesday. And, looking forward to it.
I'm asking because I know you had us signed up on different dates, so a resend of that roster would be, or those dates would be appreciated.
Sure.
On
On this Wednesday, President Frisbee would be in attendance, and I think we had Trustee Reister, if it worked for her, but we can figure out who the second council member is. And it starts out with a historical perspective of Vicksburg from the Leah over at Historic Village, and then Government 101, and we move forward for 6 consecutive weeks.
just before the Berg Days kick off.
Yes. Nine
I know-
more,
I know
nine more Wednesdays.
I know
nights.
I've been selected every Wednesday. I thought we all were gonna be here every Wednesday, no?
No,
All
we've
right,
tried
all
to
right.
avoid a quorum in the room, so.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. Thank you, sir, and welcome back, thank you.
Yeah, we're very happy with the first year going for it, and learn and give it our best shot and grow from there.
And remember, it's budget season, so we're gonna be busy the next couple of months as Mr. Mallory. So it takes us to committee reports, and I think you said you had a meeting coming up this week yet?
Yep, Wednesday night.
3 reports,
Meeting Wednesday night, talking about budget and some of the other things.
all right. Parks and Rec? That's right, we're early in the week, aren't we? I know there was a CATS meeting though, and
I attended.
you were a good man for that.
Unfortunately, my notes are in my truck because I completely forgot. However, a certain individual did mention a bridge in a certain village, so my time was not lost. The biggest thing was the issue they talked about where complaints were being filed through the CAT's office now is going directly to MDOT to Lansing, so that it has been approved. This month's meeting, just so you know, Mr. President, is going to be at the new Kalamazoo County Road Commission.
I saw
So,
that one.
so don't go downtown because you won't be able to get in, so.
Actually, put it in my planner.
I'm assuming you're attending this one.
I will.
Okay.
Planning Commission, I know you had a meeting just this past week.
We've had two, one last week and one tonight beforehand. So last week, Kyle did a review of the master plan that included all of the updated stakeholder comments and all of that. There will be a master plan public hearing at the May 13th meeting. This evening, we went through the car wash text amendment, approved that, obviously, so that came here. Just a side note on that, the developer of that project spoke to the Planning Commission and was extremely complimentary of the village, everything that they had done, we had done to welcome him. Both him and his wife had come into town for the Berg Days. Just really enjoyed everything that they saw. Took the time to learn a little bit more. Met with Jim, and just the overall welcoming of everything is what brought him to bring that business here. So I thought that was very, very nice of him to say. And then again, President, I think you brought this up before, but Don Wartala is stepping down at the end of this term on the Planning Commission. So that is it.
Thank you so much. South County Sewer, I think Mr. Olson attended on our behalf. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Several announcements were made. The official opening of the Justice Center downtown is going to be September 7th. That's on a Saturday. That's the only time the judges could agree upon. Mr. John Gessler also noted that he's running for office again. Active project updates, discussion on joining the Vicksburg Force Main, pursuing funding to join the Vicksburg Main, and they are looking at minor improvements of about $44,000. They are planning on a 70-year build-out, possibly adding another lift station at TU Avenue or a lift station at Nash, which, if you don't know where Nash is at, that's basically S Avenue and Sprinkled, but to the left. Creating actuaries. Their funding application through the USDA. They were having a meeting with the USDA in April, which should have been right about now. Schoolcraft meeting is with Lockport, which is Three Rivers, in April. It was a week from then that Lockport, they were meeting with the water board, so that was on April 2nd, a Tuesday. If you don't know where Lockport's at, that's where the new ballpark is at, down there in Three Rivers. So that's about it.
Thank you, Danny. We got a fire update.
We actually have a fire meeting Wednesday night, so did have a financial meeting last Tuesday to discuss number one, what we're doing, because we're actively trying to look into refinancing for the new apparatus that we purchased last year. So we're moving on that, and was informed we did have, I guess they had a bad house fire in Schoolcraft last week. Did suffer a fatality there, what we were told. And they had a motorcycle accident out here last week. Unfortunately, I don't know what the status of the rider was, but I got a phone call about a day later because it feared that it was me that got hit, and said no, it was not. So I don't know.
Carl, he was in critical but stable condition when I talked to the chief. And for those that don't know, he was also a former Vicksburg firefighter. So prayers gone to the family on both of the families. So
we have a meeting Wednesday night. So.
Thanks so much. Well, that opens up time for citizens' comments on non-agenda items. I know I kind of went out of sequence and let Zach speak, but he had to get back to his business. And if there's anyone else who would like to speak, this is the time to do it. I'm not seeing anybody jump right up. We'll jump to trustees' time. We'll start down to the left to Trustee Fields.
Nothing tonight.
Trustee Wagner.
I'd first like to thank our mechanical contractor for their expedient service and making sure this unseasonably warm weather had our AC functioning for the meeting. So thanks to A1 Mechanical for that. Also, another shout out and congratulations to Zach Bishop and Four Flutes. That Apex Accelerator Best Small Business Award for 2024. I mean, they're a business in Vicksburg that's doing it. It's the leadership, it's the partnership that we have with them. We're helping all those pieces to fit, but it wouldn't be without entrepreneurs like Zach and Four Flutes, and then the trustees and staff here in the village to help make that success happen. So I'm just always glad to see it and celebrate that any chance we get. That'll be it for me tonight.
Well said, Ryan. Thank you. Trustee Reister.
I'm all set for tonight. Thank you.
Trustee Olson.
Updates real quick. for you that go out V Avenue right now, last week they cut down 5 trees just outside the village limit. They started working today on inside the village limit. So there are trees on the south side of V Avenue with red X's. They're taking all those out. Schoolcraft, because of the road construction, has canceled their parades this year and their 4th of July fireworks. So there's not going to really be any major fireworks in the area other than Kalamazoo and that. And I had the pleasure to go up to our brand new road commission building. I wanted to see what $64 million looked like. Mr. Gessler was there. This warehouse is huge. You could take the Kalamazoo Motor Speedway and put that thing inside the building and still have room left over. It is that big. And they had all their equipment there, the used equipment, their brand new equipment. I'm kind of glad Mr. Mallory wasn't there because he'd want to play with it all. And there was a couple I was tempted to crawl up in, but no, they wouldn't let me. But yeah, you have to see it to believe it. It's a lot bigger than I thought, and that's just the warehouse. That's not where they store the salt and everything else, and that's even further out back. So when you go, yeah, it's. But yeah, 64 million. I think I could do better things. But oh, and I guess Clark Logic bought their old building, and they're going to use that as a headquarters. So.
All right.
Thank you.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Not a whole lot, other than at my Lions Club meeting last week, the club wanted to make sure that on the village website, the dates for the infamous B&B are up to date, so, okay. They didn't know, I think they said that they were showing last year's date, so they wanted to make sure that it was accurate, so. Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. I'll report back to them, thank you.
There's other news from the Lions Club. Do you want me to announce it by saying thank you very much to the club for donating $1,000 to the Berg Days this summer?
Well, yeah, I don't try to take credit, I mean, that's just what we do at the Lions Club.
Then I'll extend that thank you to the other members of the board of the Lions Club. So if you can pass that along to them, we'd appreciate it.
I am the board. No, just so the council knows, Jim sent a letter to the Rotary and the Lions Club asking for a donation to support the arts projects during the Berg Days. I was not able to attend our meeting in March because I was out of town, so they tabled it until I got back. And so when I got back, because they knew I would be more up to date on what exactly it was for, so I explained to them, and then they wholeheartedly supported it because it was projects for the kids, so, and art stuff. So.
Yeah, and the council's aware, Sid Bastos, representing the Vicksburg Cultural Arts Program, has a budget of about $7,000 for hands-on activities of the arts for the Berg Days. Not only the Lions Club, but the Vicksburg Chamber of Commerce stepped to the plate and are providing $5,000. The village will just be the fiduciary. Sid at the end of the Berg Days will submit the invoice documenting the expenses, but those organizations certainly deserve the credit and appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks, Carl, though.
Good segue. All right, that was just a couple of things for me. I just want to say congratulations to Main Street Hideaway, Yogi's and Vickers. That's what we do this for up here, is for the residents in this community to grow. Thank you to Jane Grosh and Discover Kalamazoo. I think with their numbers and their support and what they've validated to what we thought from the attendance has shown that, the Berg Days has been a resounding success. So thank you for that, everyone. This Wednesday, 6:30, Citizens Academy. I'm going to be hitting everybody up for openings on Planning Commission. We have a lot of openings in the governmental bodies that we're going to need to fill here in the next month. So Zach Bishop, of course, congratulations to his team for Flutes Manufacturing. They're doing an awesome job. Thanks, Jim, and your staff, but Jim, for your working vacation. I know you've been off for a little while trying to enjoy yourself, and you've never missed a beat, you know, with your work and keeping up. And I know it's budget season's coming up, so we appreciate your hard work. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
All those opposed may stay.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Well done.